Only 2 rounds to go in this year's Blancpain Sprint Series, Baku in Azerbaijan, but first it's Zolder in Belgium. The historic former Formula 1 circuit plays host to a huge field of 25 GT cars. But first, let's look back at Portimao. It was a great start from Harry Procek. He took the lead of the race in the Grasser Racing Lamborghini as they tried to close in on the championship leaders Max Buch and Max Goetz, who were running second in the Mercedes. There were cars running wide on the exit of turn 4, but not too much drama as Alex Zanardi made up places and Dominik Baumann got hit from behind, forcing the Slovakian race winners to come into the pits. The battle was on for the lead of the race. Harry Procek tried his best to hold on, but eventually the move was made and the 84 car of Max Goetz moved into first place. There was a collision between Mateusz Lasowski and Aman Ibrahim, and then there was a collision between the 2 HTP teammates. Lucas Wolf trying to get inside the Sergei Afanasiev, but it ended in tears for the German team. The battles were going strong throughout the order as Markus Winkelhock started to make up places, having had to start at the back of the grid after a gearbox problem in the qualifying race. A mistake under pressure from Roman Rusinov meant he lost third place to Marc Basseng in the Phoenix Audi. And the second place Lamborghini was also halted as he tried to exit the pits, Jeroen Bleekemolen having to get on the brakes to avoid the incoming BMW. The Royal BMW Alex Zanardi was having a great fight with Stefan Ortelli. In the end, Ortelli found the inside line down into the hairpin as Zanardi started to slip back down the order. It was Thomas Enger, the next man to go past Zanardi. And despite Zanardi's fight back, it was then Nicky Meyer-Melnoff who went past, swiftly followed by René Rast. But Ortelli was on a charge. He passed Alessandro Latifi, the young Briton, losing out then to Thomas Enger as Ortelli and Enger carved their way through the field together. In the closing laps, Laurens Vanthoor went all 4 wheels off and then made a pass on Jeroen Bleekemolen into the hairpin. He took second position, but because of exceeding track limits, that would later be taken away, as it was race victory for Maximilian Buch and Maximilian Goetz as they extended the lead of the SLS at the top of the championship. But their championship rivals, Bleekemolen and Procek, were handed second place after the race. Laurens Vanthoor wrapped up the Blancpain Endurance Series title in Germany at the Nürburgring a couple of weeks ago, and whilst he's out of contention for the Sprint Series Championship, both he and WRT are looking strong for the overall GT Series.
There's still the overall championship which you can win, WRT and myself, so we'll try to do that. This is a race, my home race, which I would like to win, and the next one is in Baku, which is a special event. So actually more in the mood like let's just go out and have fun and do the best we can and then try to win the races, and then if we succeed that in the both weekends, I think it's the best chance to win also the championship.
There's only one Audi left in contention for Pro Cup drivers' honours this season, and that is the WRT R8 of Enzo Ede and René Rast. It's Enzo Ede's home race here in Belgium, so he'll be looking for a strong performance, but he knows that a shot at the title is quite a slim possibility.
I think winning the championship will be very hard or even impossible. A lot of people coming, I know the track very well. We will try to do our best, but I think the competition here is even harder than on other races. I know that the Lambo always is fast here, so we will try to do our best and try to get on the podium, and then we will be happy.
The real fight at the top of the championship is going to be between the HTP Mercedes of Maximilian Goetz and the 28 Grasser Racing Lamborghini. Jeroen Bleekemolen and Harry Procek didn't have the best of races last time out in Portugal, but they know from here on in they've got to focus if they want to take the title.
We have to fight and give everything, and that's what we'll do. I mean, it's still a long way, 4 races to go with 2 main races where a lot of points are there, so hopefully we can make it. I think it's a good track for us. I think it's a lot of braking and slow corners, which is not as good for an SLS. I know that car very well myself, so I know it's for them going to be a little bit harder here to be right at the front. Although you can never underestimate them because they've been quick everywhere, so we'll see what happens.
It's a welcome return to the Vita1 racing team this weekend at Zolder. Multiple FIA GT1 world champions. It's great to have Michael Bartels and Jelmer Berman back at the wheel of the BMW Z4, but they know competition has increased since they were last here.
You see already that in the last 2 years or in the last months and this season, things develop, teams are performing better, smaller teams became very competitive teams, so I think we are facing a lot of competition. I think first goal is to see where we are on the performance, and then of course to finish the races, and maybe we can fight for a podium place.
Leading the championship though, with 2 rounds to go, is the number 84 HTP Mercedes. Max Boot can't win the title because he had to miss out on Slovakia, so it's all about Max Goetz at the top of the standings, and he knows that he's in a rich vein of form.
Portimao was very good for us. Between was a 1,000-kilometer race at Nürburgring. We finished second, or the team finished second, so we are in a good shape in the moment. We prepared all the team very well for this race. We trained a lot of pit stops and we want that everything is perfect. We try to hold the lead and maybe get more advantage. 2 years ago I was in the same position in GT Masters Championship, and in the end we could win. So why I should have pressure?
A new entry this weekend is the NSC Lamborghini. It's being run by Reiter Engineering and its drivers are Nicky Katzberg and Peter Cox. Peter Cox won here last year for Reiter, and Nicky Katzberg is very excited about being partnered with the quick Dutchman for the first time.
I've never shared a car with him. I've always raced against him, so now it's good to finally race with him because he's always pretty fast. So I think a combination of a Lamborghini and circuit of Zolder is always a good one. So the people of the team saw some benefits, and that's why we're here. We know the Lamborghini has been good all season, and I guess on Zolder it should be really strong, so we're hoping for top 5 for sure.
Beechstein Aston Martin have entered for the Baku World Final in a couple of weeks' time, and so in preparation have decided to come to Zolder, running Johnny Adam and Andy Soucek. It's a works Aston Martin entry, so expect them to be running towards the front of the order. Johnny Adam is a regular in the Aston Martin, but it's all new to Andy Soucek.
It's the first time, so it's a total surprise for me. I don't know what to expect, but I just expect to be in the top 3. I hope we will have a good car for this track. Traction should be good, and it's quite needed here. We need a good front end, and as far as they told me, with the front engine, the front grip is actually quite good. So hopefully we will be strong here.
And a very good afternoon. Welcome to Zolder. It's time for the qualifying race here in the penultimate round of the 2014 Blancpain Sprint Series. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me in the commentary box is John Watson, and we have a beautiful day for racing here. Just a couple of miles outside of the little town of Hasselt, and you can see 25 degrees the air temperature, track temperature up to 34 degrees centigrade, which means that it's going to be a different circuit to the one that the drivers qualified on. Laurens Vanthoor will start this race from pole position. Jeroen Bleekemolen alongside in the Grasser Racing Lamborghini. Then we've got René Rast and a newcomer for this weekend, the NCS Lamborghini of Nicky Katzberg. Giorgio Pantano, best qualifying performance of the season so far from him, to line up 5th ahead of Dominic Baumann in 6th. Thomas Enger is 7th. Matthias Stumpf, a good run in the Brazilian BMW to be 8th on the grid. In 9th position it's David Fuminelli, with Mateusz Lasowski completing the top 10. That's the row of cars battling for the Silver Cup. Marcus Fingerhock didn't compete in practice yesterday, but he still manages 11th place, just ahead of our championship leader Max Goetz, all the way down in 12th. Alessandro Balzan is 13th in the Ferrari. Alongside him is the Aston Martin, which is new for this weekend, which will be started by Johnny Adam. Sergio Jimenez and Chris van der Drift are on the next row of the grid. Then we have Stefan Rakelmi starting that car that he shares with fellow Monegasque Stefan Ortelli, with Alex Zanardi in 18th place. Sergei Afanasiev 19th, Jelmer Burman completing the top 20. And then we have Lucas Stoltz and Thomas Pavoda, a Blancpain Sprint Series debut for Pavoda. And then Benji Hetherington and Mark Basseng on the penultimate row of the grid, with another new entry, the GT Russian team. Alexei Vasiliev and Marco Asma will start at the back of the field. The cars come through the final corner then and start to line up. When the lights go out, we will have racing in the penultimate qualifying race of the season here in Zolder, and away we go. And it's a very good start from Bleekemolen on the outside line, down towards turn 1. Bleekemolen, is he going to be able to hold the lead? No, Vanthoor holds it in there on the inside. It's a good start as well from René Rast, as the cars now fan out, and Rast might even be into the lead. He looks to the outside as they come to turn 2. Thomas Enger is looking feisty on the inside line as we go on board with the Lamborghini, then running in 3rd position through turn 3, and a bit of contact in the middle of the pack. Matthias Stumpf almost spinning. Looked like it was Enger maybe that got into the side of the BMW as they come out through turn 4, down towards the chicane. I think that's the Ferrari running wide of Alessandro Balzan. Everyone's safely through the first few corners though by the looks of things. Right in the middle of the pack is the championship leading Mercedes there, number 84, pushing Marcus Fingerhock in front of him. The Royal BMW skips across the grass and there's a wheel off. We'll have to find out who that might be belonging to. And it's the BMW. So that contact at the exit of turn 2 must have caused that damage to Matthias Stumpf. But It's Laurens Vanthoor leading the way with René Rast right behind him in second place.
Well, I've caught my breath. I mean, that was a stunning start from René Rast, but a very strong start from Laurens Vanthoor, who was actually being challenged on the outside into turn 1 by Jeroen Bleekemolen, but the local lad managed to hold position, and in doing so gave the opportunity René Rast to find a way around as the BMW contact. We saw that contact catching the back of the Lamborghini, but consequently the tyre comes apart as we come into the chicane and coming up to the end of the first lap. I can hardly get it out quick enough.
So Laurens Vanthoor it is who will lead across the line at the end of lap 1. No, it's René Rast who will lead across the line at the end of lap 1. So Rast is in the lead of the race. Vanthoor's in second position. It's third for Jeroen Bleekemolen, fourth for Nicky Katsberg. Here now is an attack on the inside line, and that is Alessandro Balzan going around the outside of Johnny Adam in the Aston Martin.
Yeah, very strong pass, very confident pass by the Ferrari.
So here's a look at the start again. Bleekemolen got a great getaway. Rast didn't get a great initial pull, but he held the inside line here. That gave him the outside line for the next corner.
Yeah, but also what was impressive was the way that Laurens Vanthoor went very deep into the corner on the inside line. He then cut across the front of Jeroen Bleekemolen, which then almost gave the momentum back to René Rast in third place to enable him to get round the outside of turn 2 and sweep ahead of Laurens Vanthoor, who thought it had all covered.
Yeah, so it was around the outside of turn 3 that move got made. Here is the tyre going away from Matthias Stumpf, but the contact happened just a few seconds before this, as we saw on the broadcast on the exit of turn number 3. And that's Thomas Jaeger, teammate of Dominic Baumann.
This time he's put it into position, and Thomas Enger was absolutely banged to rights, and he's going to be passed by Pantano, apparently is the correct expression. So Pantano now right on the tail of the Lamborghini. Thomas Enger losing one position and then Perola losing another.
Very good driving from Dominic Baumann. He lined that up for a couple of laps, and now he's up into 5th position. Here's the move, John.
Yeah, this is just a classic move up out of turn 4 into the chicane. You get sufficient drive to put yourself into the position where you block the entry to the corner for Thomas Enger, and Enger had no option but just to get out of the throttle.
And here's the look for the lead of the race, and they've hit each other. The two WR teammates come together as Laurens Vanthoor goes for the lead of the race. René Rast is sent spinning, Vanthoor's in the lead, but that's an interesting thing, both for teammates colliding into team, but also the stewards might take a look at that.
Well, it's a racing incident, but the truth is that Laurens Vanthoor stuck his nose up the inside. He probably had the nose level with the door of René Rast's car, and Rast then just took his line, and that'll have to be reviewed. Let's look at it again and see whether, and in fact how far Vanthoor got up before Rast made his cut. Well, he got out of it as much as he could, but once he was committed to that entry, and René Rast, well, the stewards will look at it. I would call it a racing incident, but something that teammates we'll have to discuss later.
Not a very happy man there, Pierre Dieudonné. So that means René Rast has dropped back to 4th place, just in front of Dominic Baumann, who's in 5th. Vanthoor leads then now at his home circuit for the Belgian Audi club, but it's Jeroen Bleekemolen up into 2nd. 3rd now is Nicky Katsberg. 4th is René Rast, and then from Dominic Baumann in 5th down, it remains the same, with Pantano now right on the back of Thomas Enger for 6th position. And that's a shame. That is Chris Anderdrift, who has started that car, and he is going to be pushed off the circuit. Here's a look at Van der Drift, and that, I mean, it looks...
Left rear wheel. Yes, left rear has come off, and it comes, in fact, complete with this drive shaft, I think.
And this is Stefan Rakelmi. Oh, and there's some...
Well, that's
grass cutting. That's track limits, I think.
I mean...
We go on board with Zanardi then, through the left-hander.
And Rakelmi, he did the Nürburgring 6 hours recently, but what a shock to the system coming out of GP2 to get into a battle like this in GT.
Absolutely, and they've just gone past then Lucas Stoltz. So Stoltz perhaps has a problem on that car, because that was a bit random that he suddenly got involved in this battle. So it's Rakelmi leading, he's sharing with Stefan Ortelli. The first time since 1957 that Monegasque drivers have shared a car.
I knew you wanted to get that stat out somewhere, but
it's a great one.
I mean, just wondering, the Stoltz, I've been mentioning brakes being an issue, and that was a typical example. If you put your foot in the brake and there ain't very much there.
And you can see how quickly he's dropping back, and Zanardi is trying to get past. Stoltz is finding it difficult to decide which line to take into a corner, and Zanardi, I think, will cruise past before too long as they come out now down towards the right-hander of turn 4, and I'd have thought Zanardi might be able to do him on the brakes here. as into the chicane that's coming up in a few moments' time. They've got Benji Hetherington right with them as well.
Yeah, up into the chicane is the better place to try and make a pass, but straight line speed of the Mercedes probably just too much for the BMW.
And that's off. Stefan Rakelmi into the gravel trap.
Rear brake lock up and spins round. Stefano Telli, well, I wonder what his thoughts are on that little incident.
Safety car deployed to get that car out of the gravel trap, then down at the chicane. So Van Thor is going to come into the pits at the end of this lap, and this could get very, very, very busy down in the pit lane now.
I think pretty much everybody's going to make a charge for the pit lane there. You see he accelerates again, first, second, third. Yeah, pretty much the entire field. Pantano, everybody's coming in. And it's going to be tough in the pit lane because getting into your box, and it might be somewhat more difficult when you've got such a busy pit lane as we're seeing now. Cars, come look at the congestion, it's going to be nuts when you want to go back out again.
Out goes the Lamborghini just in front of the other Grasser Racing Lamborghini, but is that an unsafe release? That's something for the stewards to look at, but that means that in the lead of the race is still going to be Laurens Vanthoor. That's how tight it is, that we haven't had that much change around. Vanthoor leads, second now for Peter Cox. It's third place for the Grasser Lamborghini, fourth place in there for the number 2 WRT Audi. It's of course Cesar Ramos at the wheel of the number 1 car now, so it's Ramos in the lead. The only big change in the top 4 was between second and third, so it's now Peter Cox in front of Harry Procik. Zanardi goes out of the pits. We also saw the Ferrari, now Philippe Salaquada, getting past the championship leading Mercedes. That was crazy, but I mean, great work from all the pit crews to avoid too much drama down there as well. There is Stefan Rakelmi handing over to Stefano Telli, but that's pretty much the race over for them. They're down in 24th position through the final corner, and the safety car comes in, and it's Cesar Ramos leading the way. Peter Cox in second position, and he's dropped back a little bit from Ramos at the start.
Idiot! What does he think he's doing? I had Peter Cox to be all over the back of Cesar Ramos coming through turns 15 and 16, get the drive down the pit straight and make a move down the inside.
Oh, and there's a bit of side-by-side action as Enzo Eid is attacked by Kaka Bueno. This is over fourth place. Bueno pushing really, really hard on the back of Enzo Eid. Needs to be careful because Fabio Anidi's right behind, and then behind him is Niki Meyer Melnov, then Roman Rusanov under attack, Andy Soucek up the inside into turn 12. Job done from the Lamborghini. A bit of a love tap, but I think that's because Rusanov didn't really see him coming. Here's a look as Steph Dusseldorp tries to squeeze past Miguel Toril. Hasn't quite got it done. They're going to go side by side through that little kink, and that means that Dusseldorp is able to get through. Here's Andy Soucek trying to get past Niki Meyer Melnov into turn 2. Soucek goes to the outside line. He's got the cutback. Can he go all the way around the outside of Meyer Melnov at turn 2? It'll be quite a move if he can. Soucek holds it all the way around. Wonderful move from Soucek, and he is up into 7th place. And there's a forceful move from Michael Bartels, means he goes past Miguel Toril and up into 16th position.
See, let's look again as this is a pass by Michael Bartels down into the inside, not quite so far alongside, but there's again a hip and shoulder on the inside.
Here's a look at a replay of Stefano Colombo, and well, it's all kicking off there, isn't it? Colombo's going around Latif, who's getting involved with Nelson Piquet Jr. Oh, that's not a place to have contact there, Nelson. But look how close the Mercedes is to Niki Meyer Melnov. Down into the final chicane. Boot goes for it. Boot gets the job done. Reasonably straightforward in the end. He goes a little bit deep into the chicane. That could give the Audi an advantage on the run out. But Boot now is up into 9th position, I think, 10th position after all that. But here's Alex Zanardi. Can he follow through down into turn 1? Niki Meyer Melnov has to hold the inside line. Zanardi might be able to take more speed through an attack going into the second corner. Zanardi looks to the outside line, and Meyer Melnov's not giving him any room out there.
No, but what he's got to try to do is come back and get up the inside.
Here comes Steph Dusseldorp again, looking to the outside this time of Roman Rusanov down into the chicane, and he's done it. Just outbreaks Rusanov around the outside, and Meyer Melnov's made a mistake. That allows Zanardi the chance. He's on the outside now through the quick left-hander of turn 7, down towards the chicane, and Zanardi's pulled it off. So he is now up into 11th place. Another good move from Zanardi, and that means that Steph Dusseldorp is right behind Meyer Melnov now. That's Lucas Wolff. That's why there was gravel all over the circuit, because Lucas Wolff had had a drama on the exit of turn number 4. Does a little donut, puts some more dirt down. as we go on board now with Enzo Weed in 4th position, really clouting those curbs through that first chicane, and that's sideways from Prochik. Is this the chance for Enzo Weed? Not really around this part of the circuit, and Prochik all of a sudden has managed to get it all back together. Here's a look at the replay of this moment at the chicane. Sideways.
Throws it in and he lays massive rubber on the exit.
As we see Stefan Landman, and then Nelson Piquet Jr. behind him, and that's Landman. Oh, that's gonna hurt you.
Oh, as it ever.
Max Buch has finally got past Philippe Salaquada and is up into 9th position. So that's good work from Buch, and he's just gone past Dominic Baumann as well over the start-finish line. So Buch has taken 2 places in 2 laps and is now up into 8th position. My apologies, it was Thomas Jaeger he got past in that Schubert BMW. So Buch up from 10th to 9th and 10th to 8th, and that's Michael Bartels off at the final corner. Presumably there would have been an incident there, because Bartels is not the kind of chap to make a mistake there.
Well, he may have got a little tip on the back of the car, spun him around, and he had to do that sort of 180 degrees to get back onto the racetrack, back to the battle for 3rd place. And really it is Andy Soucek, you can see, who's pushing very, very hard to try and get that up into the final point scoring position, 6th place.
This is what happened to Michael Bartels. So Stefano Colombo's behind, quite a way behind, and he's gone for it. And that's a very similar incident, isn't it?
It is a very similar incident indeed. So Michael Bartels was the innocent party there, got turned around and lost quite a considerable amount of time. We don't know if there's been any further issues to be taken with that incident or not. It doesn't look like it at the present time.
5 minutes to go now, and Andy Soucek, look, has got past. Andy Soucek is up into 6th position. He's got past Fabio Annidi, and now does he have time to hunt down the guys in front of him? Enzo Weed always takes such a narrow line into that turn 12, and it means that he can't get the drive out even though he's that close.
That's true, but I suppose he feels that I'm not losing anything by doing it, particularly because I couldn't gain anything else by taking the line that Project's taking, and maybe in fact I might lose something on the exit. So his decision to do it that particular way.
So across the line they come, and it's still 3rd place for Harry Prochik, 4th for Enzo Weed, 5th for Cacabueno, but now up into 6th place is Andy Soucek in the Aston Martin, right on the back of the BMW as they come through turn 3, down towards 4. Takes good speed through there in that Beechstein Aston Martin, but he's not quite close enough. If anything, it's the BMW that's closest to Enzo Weed, who goes very, very deep into the chicane, and that's going to put him under a lot of pressure from Cacabueno, down through the left-hander of turn 7, the battle for 4th place. Bueno not quite close enough still, as they all queue up behind. Max Buch has caught up to the back of Fabio Annidi in the battle over 7th place, so Buch might be able to get up into the top 7 here. But it's 3 for 4th position. This has been great news for Harry Prochik, who's managed to break away a little bit from this fight. Into turn 12, a little tap there, as Bueno lets Ede know that he's there. Across the line comes Cesar Ramos. We're now onto the final lap of the race for him. It's the final corner on the lap, and look, here comes Max Buch up the inside into the final chicane, and he's got through into 7th place. Annidi looked like he had the inside line covered, but he gave Buch room, opened the door, and Buch goes through into 7th. Meanwhile, Cesar Ramos is leading the way by some 15 seconds now over Peter Cox in 2nd place, and he got through. Brilliant stuff from Andy Soucek. He's passed the BMW and up into 5th place. Got a great drive through the first corner and presumably did it at turn 2. Really impressive drive from Andy Soucek. On the brakes for turns 5 and 6. Oh, he's gone in too deep, and he takes a huge clout of curb. And is that going to allow Bueno to get back through? Bueno looks to the outside. He's going to try and go all the way around the outside, then up the inside into 5 and 6. The BMW looks to the inside line and off again. Are there brake problems for Andy Soucek in that Aston Martin? Because he just straight lined the chicane there. What drama on the final lap. Meanwhile, Cesar Ramos comes through the final turn to take victory in the qualifying race in Zolder. It'll be pole position for them tomorrow as they take victory in the qualifying race. 2nd place will be Peter Cox. Third place will most likely be Harry Project. That is Peter Cox. He and Nicky Katzberg driving a great race to finish in second. But who's third? Oh, there's contact at the final corner. Buca's hit Bueno. Third is going to be Harry Project across the line. Fourth is going to be Enzo Eid. Fifth is going to be Andy Soucek. Sixth then is going to be Max Buch. What happened with him and Kaka Bueno at the final turn? Delight in the Grasser garage. They held on to that third place. Well, here's a look at the replay. And, well, Buch went for it. Bueno closed the door very, very vociferously. And, well, that's a difficult one to call, isn't it? Was Buch far enough alongside? Did Bueno make that happen for himself? And here's a look at Stefano Colombo and Roman Rusanov. Bump. Colombo spins around Rusanov like he spun around Michael Bartels. But we'll wait and see if anything comes of that. Rusanov lighting up the rears. He finished down in 14th place in the end. There's the second place car pulling in, but now let's hear from Laurens van Thor. An entertaining race. Let's see how he saw it. He's with John.
Laurens van Thor, congratulations, but controversial in your stint.
Yes, obviously I'm happy, but yeah, like you said, it's a bit controversial with the contact with René. We're actually, doesn't matter right now if it's my fault, his mistake, a miscommunication or anything. Just wanted to apologize towards WRT and Audi for that, because that's not our job, not my job, but unfortunately it happened.
But tell me, I mean, in a racing situation like that, how much are you relying on the car you're trying to overtake, and how much have you got to rely on your knowledge of track position?
Well, if it would have been another car, it would have been totally different. Then I would just went for the gap and went full attack. In this situation, we in the team, we have a clear rule that we don't block each other, which nobody did. And he made a mistake the corner before, so I felt I was really close to him. I was the closest I was before, and I pulled out the slipstream to show that I was there, and I said to myself, I'm not going to do crazy braking because he probably would have seen me. But unfortunately, for some reason, he didn't see me, and maybe it's my misjudgment. Maybe he didn't see me. It's difficult to say. I think we just have to talk like grown-ups after the race, and I'm sure we will do that and then find a solution. Because in the end, that's not the job that needs to be done. So.
Oh, well, let us know how you get on tonight, Laurens. We'll talk to you tomorrow about it. Cesar Ramos, come in. Cesar, stunning stint from you. You just pulled away from the field like half a second a lap.
Yeah, the car is really good. I feel comfortable with this track. Also, Laurens did a great job. Unfortunately, we had the safety car, so we lost the gap. So I had to push a lot straight away. And in the beginning, the Lambo was catching me a little bit. They said I had to push, so I started pushing, but until the end. So it was a good gap also. But what matters is tomorrow. We learned this year that qualifying race means nothing. So let's just keep focused on tomorrow's race.
So here's a look at the results, and it's Cesar Ramos and Laurens van Thor who win by 16 seconds from the NSC Motorsports of Peter Cox and Lamborghini. Peter Cox and Nicky Katzberg in second place in the Lamborghini. Harry Project and Jeroen Bleekemolen completing the top three, which brings the gap at the top of the championship down to just 18 points. Enzo Eid and René Rast fourth. Soucek and Johnny Adam. Great drive from Andy Soucek in particular to finish in fifth place. Max Buch and Max Goetz finishing sixth. Maybe they will be under investigation for that incident at the final corner. Seventh place for Fabio Nidi and Giorgio Pantano. Thomas Jaeger and Baumann in eighth. Good run from Salaquad and Balzan for ninth, and Alex Zanardi 10th place, having started all the way down in 18th position. Roland Brunserida, the race director, handing the trophies to Laurens van Thor and Cesar Ramos on the top step of the podium. Roland also handing out the trophy for the winning team, WRT, as they will now pose on the top step of the podium. Superb performance from Van Thor and Ramos. They take victory in the qualifying race. It's still all to play for, though, in the main race tomorrow. Anticipation building here in Zolder ahead of the main race, the penultimate main race of the season in this 2014 Blancpain Sprint Series. My name's Jack Nichols. Alongside me in the commentary box is John Watson as we look at a beautiful day here in Zolder, and now we look at the championship standings because it could be wrapped up today. Max Goetz could leave the circuit as the Blancpain Sprint Series champion, but it'll take an awful lot of work for him to pull that off. We'll go through the who's and whys and hows in a few moments' time. Jeroen Bleekemolen and Harry Procek, they're in third in the standings. They are the main rivals to that number 84 car, and still Enzo Ede and Rene Rast are in contention technically to take the championship. 23.1 degrees the air temperature, track temperature 29.5 degrees. It's going to be a very entertaining race if yesterday's race is anything to go by. One of the stars of yesterday's race was Andy Soucek. He's with John Watson.
Andy Soucek, strong fifth place yesterday in the heat of Saturday. Today looks hotter.
It looks hotter and it looks like a hard race. I think I need to make the most out of the first laps, and then I need to try and follow the top two, top three, and open a gap for my teammate to be a bit more relaxed at the end of the race, because if he has the same end of the race that I had yesterday, he's going to struggle.
Well, tell me, the other big issue here is going to be brake performance, brake wear, lack of brakes.
Yeah, we are struggling a little bit with the heat of the braking, but I think we found something for today, so hopefully we won't struggle that much and I can perform a good race again.
Okay, enjoy it, and thank you.
Andy Soucek and Johnny Adam in the Beechstein Aston Martin, pretty much a factory run entry. There is Johnny Adam with his headphones around his neck there, and they are going to be entering the Baku World Challenge, which finishes our Blancpain Sprint Series season, and they thought we might as well come to Zolder and get a bit of practice in. And you can see a very busy grid of cars and personnel, and that is Peter Cox, who will be starting the that Lamborghini. It's Peter Cox in the car, just for clarification. And we can hear from Maximilian Buch now. He is ready to take the start of this race. He had an eventful afternoon yesterday. Let's hear from him.
Max got involved in a last lap incident, turn 15. How bad was it really?
In my opinion, it wasn't too bad. I was nose to tail, and he was not blocking, was doing the racing line, and I was braking next to him on his door, and then suddenly he came over to me and touched me twice, and then he spun. It wasn't my fault because I can't disappear.
Now, normally you've got a big innocent smile on your face. Were you chased down the pit lane by somebody from the Brazil BMW team?
You know, for me, all the thing what happened yesterday, for me it's done. We had a handshake, and for me it's done. We're here for racing. We are normal, we are proper men. So for us it's done.
Today in the sun, anything better for you?
I hope so. Maybe we can take an advantage of the start. Maybe something happen in front, and then we will have a look after the pit stops.
Hope to see you smiling later. Thank you.
So Max Buch will be starting in 6th place on the grid. They did a great job to start 12th and then climb all the way up to 6th position in the race yesterday, because qualifying here at Zolder doesn't suit the Mercedes, but they tend to be a little bit quicker when it comes to race trim. The Maximilian Goetz in that 84 car can win the title today, but they have to win and hope that the Lamborghini of Bleekemolen and Procek finishes 5th or lower. If they finish 2nd, then they need to hope Bleekemolen or Procek finish 8th or lower, and if they finish 3rd, then Bleekemolen and Procek need to finish in 10th place or pick up no points at all. Those are the ways that Goetz can take the title, but it basically means they have to have a podium finish and hope that maladies befall the number 28 car. One of the Belgian racers this weekend is Enzo Ede. He's going to be starting his car. Let's hear from John.
Enzo, sorry to bother you, about to get into the car, but this could have been a car on pole position yesterday.
Yeah, of course, we could have been from first place yesterday, but a shame what happened, but okay, that's racing, I suppose. So let's try to do our best today and make some places up, and we will see.
So have all you teammates kissed and made up then?
I don't know. I don't think so. Not yet.
So what's it going to take then to make up?
I don't know. It's something between them. I don't have nothing to do with that.
Well, we're trying to find Rene if I can get him. Rene! We just got, hold on, we got Rene just coming into camera here. Rene, just asking Enzo, your car should have been on pole position really, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it should, but it's racing. Huh? Sometimes it's happened like that.
So was Lawrence on your Christmas card list this year or not?
Not really. I mean, it was a racing incident. He apologized after the incident. So for me, everything is okay.
Okay, you say he apologized, but he didn't get down on his hands and knees and beg forgiveness, did he?
No, not for sure not. But he won the race. I mean, we're both fighting still for the championship, and yeah, both for us it was important to take the points. So it's it's racing.
Hot right now on the grid. Going to be a tough race.
Yeah, it's like summer. Huh? It's great weather for the fans, for us. In the car it will be hot. So let's see.
Good one. Have enjoy it.
Thanks.
Great to hear from René Rast then, and his take on the events of yesterday. Basically, he was leading the race, and coming into the final corner, Laurens Vanthoor went for the inside line, spun René Rast around. The stewards decided, as they did with all the incidents yesterday, that no further action would be taken. They felt that it was all racing incidents, essentially. Fantastic grid, fantastic day, and a fantastic circuit here in Zolder. Started off initially because some rich gentlemen were racing their cars around the streets and thought, this is a bit dangerous, let's build a racetrack. And then it became what it is now. In about 1963, John Hugenholtz designed the course, and it's been through a few changes since then. Hosted 10 Formula One World Championship Grand Prix over the years as well, and now is a regular feature in the Blancpain Sprint Series. And the grid is now starting to be cleared, and the man who's going to be on pole position is Cesar Ramos. He's chatting to John.
Cesar, you had a great run yesterday. What are you going to do now?
I hope the same. I push from the start until I give the car to my teammate and do the best I can, and we see the result at the end.
Everybody's talking about the heat. Audi appear to be less affected than others.
Yeah, we still are a bit affected, but we are doing a good job with the setup, even when it's quite warm. So we think we'll be fine.
Okay, a rolling start into turn one. You got Peter Cox alongside you in the Lamborghini. Are you going to have to go a bit sort of aggressive or not?
Yeah, my goal is I have to be in front in the first corner, so I do whatever I need to do, I will be in front.
Okay, have a good one, thank you.
Cesar Ramos, the Brazilian, who was one race away from winning the Blancpain Endurance Series championship last year with Kessel Racing. He's competed in the Brazilian Stock Car Championship briefly as well this year. Before that, racing in Formula Renault 3.5, the 2010 Italian Formula 3 champion. And in that championship, he was actually battling with Stefan Rakelmi, who is on the grid this weekend, making his Sprint Series debut alongside Stefan Ortelli in the number 9 WRT Audi. That car will be starting down in 22nd place, though, because they had a difficult run yesterday, and Rakelmi actually put it in the gravel trap at the first chicane, which brought out the safety car that caused such chaos in the pits. As everyone is now filtering off the grid, we've just got a couple of minutes before the racing will be getting going, and a big crowd have come up to watch the racing here in Zolder this weekend, which is fantastic to see. And they've been treated to a wonderful race yesterday and a beautiful day as well. Let's have a little stroll down the grid then. On the right-hand side, that's the pole car of Cesar Ramos. The left-hand side is Peter Cox in the new NSC Motorsports machine. Next row of the grid, we've got Harry Procek third on the right-hand side there. The Grasser Racing Lamborghini chasing down the championship leaders. Enzo Eid is alongside. The next row of the grid, we've got the championship leaders. On the left-hand side there, Max Buch starting, Andy Soucek on the right in that Aston Martin. Next row of the grid, Fabio Anidi on the right. On the left-hand side, Thomas Jaeger for Schubert BMW. Alex Zanardi is on the next row of the grid. He drove a great race yesterday to go from 18th on the grid all the way up to 10th at the checkered flag, and he's alongside the Villorba Corsa Ferrari. Then we've got the second BMW, started by Stefano Colombo, alongside Sergei Afanasiev in the 85 HTP car. Roman Rusinov there in the bright orange G-Drive Racing Lamborghini. As we get towards the back of the grid, we start to encounter the cars that had troubles yesterday. Vincent Abril and Mateusz Sosowski started 10th, but could only finish down in 16th place. There's the V One Racing Team BMW that's new this weekend, as is that Mercedes on the right-hand side. The GT Russian team, Alexei Vasiliev, will be starting that car. And then at the back of the grid, we have our two retirements from yesterday. Miguel Toril in the 63 Fortec, and there number 61, Sten Pentus, whose wheel fell off. 24 cars on the grid. Unfortunately, the 27 Grasser Racing Lamborghini won't be starting because they They took a big jump over the curbs yesterday, Stefan Landman. There it is, in fact. And so they have decided they couldn't repair the car in time, and that's a slight technical problem there. They had to, it did a lot of damage when they leapt over the curbs, and so they've decided to just chill out and fix it in time for Baku in 2 weeks' time. So the formation lap gets underway. It's a 1 hour race coming up. We'll have a mandatory pit stop window between 25 and 35 minutes into the race, where everyone has to come in and change tyres and drivers, except for Alex Zanardi. And the cars will head around behind the safety car. Cesar Ramos in the lead. He really put in a strong performance yesterday, one of the strongest performances we've seen in the Blancpain Sprint Series for Ramos so far. Here's a look at how they'll line up for the penultimate main race of the season. Ramos on pole, alongside him Peter Cox. Watch out for him going into the first corner in that NSC Lamborghini. Harry Projik is third on the grid. Enzo Eid is fourth. He and René Rast will be hoping for a less eventful race than yesterday. Andy Soucek, he could well charge through the order in the early stages, potentially followed by Max Buch, the championship leading car, sixth on the grid. Fabio Anidi will be seventh, ahead of Thomas Jaeger in the Schubert BMW. Then we've got Philippe Salaquada and Alex Zanardi completing the top 10 after Zanardi's rise from 18th to 10th in the qualifying race yesterday. Steph Dusseldorp will start 11th, ahead of Stefano Colombo, who got involved in a few scrapes in the Royal BMW yesterday. Roman Rusinov will start 13th. Marc Basseng really struggling with the car this weekend at Phoenix. He's in 14th place, just ahead of his teammate Nicky Meyer-Melnoff. Vincent Abril and Mateusz Sosowski will be hoping to climb up the order and challenge their Silver Cup rivals, while Michael Bartels and Lucas Wolff will start in 17th and 18th positions respectively. 19th on the grid, Alexei Vasiliev, who's actually led a race here in FIA GT1, and he is alongside Caca Bueno, who got spun out at the final turn yesterday. Nelson Piquet Jr. is in 21st place, so the Brazilians have got a lot of work to do, just in front of Stefan Otelli. Miguel Torrell and Stem Pentas are on the final row of the grid. The cars then, working their way around this Zolder circuit. The atmosphere on the grid was palpable, an awful lot of people down there looking forward to what we hope, John Watson, will be as good a race as yesterday.
Well, I think we're going to have a cracking race, but I think the issues that we're sort of trying to get to on the grid are about the heat and the fact that it's having such a big bearing on brake wear, brake performance, and also just talking to Jerome Blakemullen before I came up. The problem is when they get really hot, the pedal gets slightly longer, and that gets into the ABS. And although these cars all have ABS equipped, they don't really want to activate it, they want to stay out of it. So that's going to be a trick for the driver to try and balance braking performance, braking distance, and sort of trying to save your brake as much as possible you can.
That's very interesting. So this is the onboard shot with Alex Zanardi, 10th on the grid, and it's going to be very, very busy from his point of view. Slap bang in the middle, pretty much, of this field of 24 cars. Biggest grid of the season so far here in Zolder. We had 25 yesterday, but the 27 Grasser Racing Lamborghini had to not take the start here today. The main race about to begin here in Zolder. On pole position, it's Cesar Ramos in the number 1 Audi on the right-hand side. It's Peter Cox alongside him as we go green here. Who's going to get the best start? It's a great start from Panzano. Looking to the inside line, he's got past Andy Soucek. We've also got Harry Projik. Oh, and they made contact with Cesar Ramos, but he gets through into second place. Peter Cox in the lead. Second place for Harry Projik then. Up in third now is, and there's a car off, and that's Thomas Jaeger going off at the exit of turn 1. Comes back onto the circuit, but I think he's picked up an awful lot of damage. But it's Peter Cox who's in the lead. Oh, and that off. I think that might have been Ortelli and Raquelme's car. No, it's not. It's Enzo Eid. Enzo Eid out of the race on the first lap.
Well, he's been spun around there. You see René Rast in the pitch, co-driver of that car. Eyes tell you everything you need to know, and that was going to be trouble in turn 2, and Enzo Eid was the victim of it. Whether he started or whether he was just innocent, we'll get a view of that later. And the Lamborghini looks like it went straight across as we look at the Audi doing the same thing. So already on the opening lap, Harry Projik getting caught out under braking into turn 5.
But he made a very good start and forced his way through. Oh, Zanardi's got a front right problem, and he is going to be out of this one, presumably. He might be able to limp back around and get that repaired as we go on board with him. And look at that, he's just not turning into the left-hander. And and a spin and almost contact. Yes, there is contact.
That's the McLaren at turn 10, that's the exit. So the McLaren's going to be a safety car. The McLaren heavily damaged on the right rear, you can see, trying to make its way back. So that may well have been a combination of Alex Zanardi's running slowly with his damage to his car, but back at the front it's Peter Cox who has got the advantage over Cesar Ramos into turn 15-16.
Yes, so it's Ramos, and the safety car has been deployed then. The safety car deployed to clear up a number of first lap incidents but it's Peter Cox leading the way. Second place for Harry Procek, third is Cesar Ramos, fourth is Max Buch, then he made a good start, as did, my apologies, it's Fabio Anidi starting that Bitec McLaren, not Giorgio Pantano, but he nevertheless has got up into fifth place. It's sixth for Andy Soucek, it's seventh for Philippe Salaquada, eighth for Dusseldorp, ninth for Rusinov and 10th for Marcus Winkelhock. But Alex Zanardi, for the second time this season, cruises back into the pits with a puncture after contact on the opening lap. It happened at Slovakia Ring 2, and that's a real shame for Zanardi. It looks as though his race, even if it's not totally over, could well be as good as over.
Well, certainly they can replace the wheel tyre, but there's a lot of muck, gravel and whatever, grass, I think, in the air intakes on that BMW, and he comes to a standstill. So in fact, as he put the brakes on, a lot of it shot forward. So they'll get this car back out. The safety car is still deployed. So with some good fortune on Alex Zanardi's side, the damage to the car isn't sufficient. There you are, the mechanics trying to get as much of that grass clear of the air intakes. The metal grill in front of the radiator probably managed to divert most of it, but there the car is off. The Jack Zanardi back out. He will be able to catch up to the tail of this chain of cars behind the safety car, and it's going to be out until at earliest the end of this lap. There may be also some debris around turns 8, 9, 10, 11, which would have come from the contact with the Lamborghini and the McLaren. There is the Lamborghini, in fact, never made it back into the pit lane, and the damage to the right rear is so severe that it's been decided that's all I can do.
Race over for the Estonian Sten Pentus in the Bitec McLaren. There is Enzo Eads' car that has now been parked up, and they're going to try and put it between the barriers there.
I don't know why Enzo Eads' car couldn't continue. I mean, we didn't see the impact. We don't know the reason why. It may well have been contact, but I suspect the damage is something that we were not aware of. There doesn't appear to be any external damage to the car that would prevent it from continuing.
Zanardi has had many comebacks on and off track. Here's a look at the start of the race then, and watch for Procek. He's very forceful into turn one, and I think he was alongside enough to get past Cesar Ramos there. Peter Cox, meanwhile, went all the way around the outside, and Enzo Ead then, let's see if we can pick him out, because he's in there somewhere, because there he is. There's Enzo Ead coming through the right-hander, that number 2 car.
Well, he's got one of the Mercedes, maybe Dusseldorp in that car. That we get a different view. This is the view looking to the exit of turn 1 from the entry into turn 2.
So we're looking at the Enzo Ead, which is the black Audi in the middle there. He's coming through the right-hander. He's got the Ferrari on his outside, and it didn't look like he was too involved in cars there. And then all of a sudden he's into
it was
the
a
barriers.
big hit. The left rear has been, that's why he didn't continue. I suspect that the left rear suspension has been sufficiently damaged, and that's all over for René Rast and Enzo Ead on board with the Brazil BMW coming down into turn 1.
Yep, this is Caca Bueno, who started a long way back in the pack after being punted out at the final corner yesterday. Gets a good run through, and now looking up the inside of Alexei Vasiliev. Oh, that's going to get a bit squeezy, and he gets a little bit of a tap through there, but nothing too dramatic. And there we see Enzo Ead. Now, did he just lose that by himself, or was there contact with the Ferrari? Couldn't quite make out, but Bueno certainly made up a lot of places.
Yeah, he did indeed. He saw the opportunities, and he was in the right place at the right time, which is very often the best place to be on a racetrack, so he's made up positions. Caca Bueno is in 12th place as they run, currently still behind the safety car, but it's coming in this lap, so this race with 54 minutes and 44 seconds remaining is about to get underway.
So that's how you make up. Oh, and there he goes past Vincent Abril as well. This is a replay of the start on board with Harry Procek then. He gets a good getaway, looks to the inside line on the way down to the first corner. There's no gap there, then there is a gap there, and he sends it up the inside. Good racing from Procek.
Yeah, I mean, Cesar Ramos closed the gap off, then he opened it up again and put himself into a position where he pulled position, comes out third. So maybe a little bit of inexperience, probably a lot of pressure. And well, Hans Reiter, he looks happy enough. His car currently leading, albeit behind the safety car, which is coming in at the end of this lap.
Stefano Colombo in the other Royale BMW into the pits as well. He followed Zanardi in, but it looks like there's more severe damage. Also, the Schubert BMW squad have their car in the pits after contact at the first corner. So a dramatic start to the race as the safety car pulls in. Through the final corner comes Peter Cox to get racing back underway here in the main race at Zolder. It's Harry Procek behind him in second place. Third is Cesar Ramos. Fourth is Max Buch, but Buch has been left standing at the restart, and as a result he's got Fabio Anidi in the red and white Bitec McLaren right up behind him. Then it's Andy Soucek, then it's Philippe Salaquada and Steph Dusseldorp, then it's Roman Rusinov running in ninth, and Nicky Meyer-Melnhof completes the top 10 in the Phoenix Audi.
You know, there's an awful lot to be said to start these races in single file. There's a chance we might get a whole field complete a lap, but how exciting it is to see them side by side.
Down into turn number 4 comes Max Buch. Drove a strong race yesterday to climb up the order, but as things stand, he and Max Goetz wouldn't take the title. As I say, they have to finish on the podium and hope that the car that is currently in second place doesn't score many points at all. So it's not looking like it'll be done today, but we've still got an awful lot of racing to go. 53 minutes as everyone dives through the first chicane.
So looking at that first chicane, the damage to car 27, the Lamborghini that's not running, they had a cracked gearbox, a cracked engine, 15 weld points cracked on that chassis. It was absolutely trashed, and that's the consequence. In fact, they've been off twice, but there was a second time off at turn 5 and 6 that did the major damage to the car. So everybody needs to be aware that not only will you go off track and lose position, you may put your car out of the race.
Down into turn 12, there's Caca Bueno, now right on the back of Michael Bartels. The Vita4One racing team returning here as a nervy Maxi Goetz watches on in the paddock, and Michael Bartels in the Vita4One car, the blue and black liveried BMW, just in front of the sister BMW of Caca Bueno. Out over the start line then comes Peter Cox, and he's got a second advantage at the moment over Harry Procek. Cesar Ramos is in third place, and Max Buch fourth. Still no movement there as Bartels now starts to push to try and get past Nicky Meyer-Melnhof in the battle over what is 10th position, the final point scoring position.
Yeah, we know that the BMW is really ideally suited to this circuit. There's not many very long straights, and the strength of the car is in the corners. So Michael Bartels, returning to Blancpain Sprint for the first time this season, is beginning to realise that he was a racing driver and not just running a team.
Absolutely. Down into the chicane then comes Cesar Ramos. He will be very frustrated, I think, to be in third place, because he said to you on the grid, John, I will do everything I can to be in the lead by the time we get to turn 1.
Well, what he did, he tried to defend on the inside, and he sort of forgot about Peter Cox on the outside, who could break that little bit later and take a later entry into the corner. His focus was on Procek, not on Peter Cox.
And it's exactly what Peter Cox did last season, actually going around the outside of the Audi at turn number 1. In that case, it was Stefan Ortelli at the wheel of the Audi, but then they went on to win the main race here last season, so it could be 2 in 2 years for Peter Cox. Teammate last season was Stefan Racina, and it's Nicky Katzberg who's alongside him this afternoon here at Zolder, but he breaks into the final chicane then. Harry Procek still in second place. Max Buch has dropped the attentions at the moment of Fabio Anidi. Now Marc Basseng is coming under a lot of pressure from Stefan Ortelli.
No, I don't like to see movements one side to the other side, so Marc Basseng needs to be aware that that will be observed, trying to deny the opportunity from the Audi following, and that's the number 9 car with Stefan Ortelli. I'm just looking down to this time in Stefan Ortelli, who will be 100% racing driver here this afternoon. It's an Audi right now on the tail of the Fortec Mercedes-Benz as it comes through turns 1. Still Andy Soucek not able to do very much with Anini in the McLaren. Again, this whole issue, I know I'm focusing on it, but it is about heat and the build-up of heat and the lack of ability to dissipate that heat on this short 4-kilometre 16-turn circuit.
Stefano Colombo has just come back into the pits, unfortunately, so they got that car back out and then back in again, and it looks like it's game over for the Schubert BMW as well. Zanardi has come out in 20th place behind Torel and Vasiliev in 19th and 18th positions respectively, so that's the battle that Zanardi is going to be involved in as they crest the hill and come down the left-hander. There is Zanardi, 20th position. We go on board with him. Completed a Ironman in Hawaii last week in some 9 hours. Very impressive, but you can hear maybe that everything isn't quite right with the BMW underneath him as we drop down into turn 12. And there's a slowing BMW. I think that's Nelson Piquet Jr. coming through the right-hander. So has Nelson Piquet Jr. run into problems, or is it a mechanical issue?
The red of the exhaust, there's something red hot in those exhaust pipes, which is not something normal as far as I can see. It's almost as if, well, you can sense there's an engine issue or something in the system, in the exhaust system, back up to this battle with Michael Bartels, struggling to find a way past Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, and Nicky Meyer-Melnhof will use everything he's got on the Audi to keep the BMW behind, and sometimes a bit more.
This is the battle over 10th place at the moment, with the second Brazilian BMW of Kaká Bueno behind, as the sister car pulls into the pit lane, and it looks as though it's game over for Nelson Piquet Jr. here. And he comes in, and there's sadness in the Brazilian crew, and it's been a disappointing weekend so far because it started so strongly. They looked very good, but Bueno was set for a good 5th place yesterday until Max Boot got involved.
Yeah, I mean, Max sort of did his normal thing on the grid of sort of saying, wasn't me, wasn't me, wasn't me. Well, sort of. But anyway, he's up in 4th place right now, trying to chase down Cesar Ramos. But I'd really love to know what's causing the exhaust pipes to glow cherry orange or cherry red as the BMW of PK got back into the pits, and Zanardi all over the rear of Toril. No, it's not Toril, it's the...
now, yeah, Toril's got past Vasiliev. We go on board with Zanardi, down into turn 12. Can he outbrake the Mercedes? Not quite close enough, but he'll take a wider... Oh, just looked like the car was getting away from him there as he got to the apex of 12, and as a result, not quite as close to the back of Vasiliev as he'd want to be.
No, and the Mercedes has got a lot of torque, which enables it to be pulled out of any of these mid-speed corners around the Zolder racetrack. A little bit more torque than the BMW has. The BMW's got the benefit, I think, of a better overall downforce grip level. This circuit also, Coleman's coming from the pit lane, it's offering up a lot of grip here this weekend. So that's another element that's throwing the team somewhat in terms of the braking capacity and the cornering ability as well.
Peter Cox has a 1 second lead at the head of this race, but then it's half a second between Prošek and Ramos, and it's half a second between Ramos and Buch. So the top 4 pretty much all together. Andy Soucek spent the majority of yesterday's race trying to find a way past this Bitec McLaren, and now he's got to do it all again, trying to fight past the Needy.
It's ironic, the car that he's been racing in Blancpain Enduro is a McLaren. Now in the Aston Martin, he's stuck behind a McLaren. He knows the strengths of the McLaren, but of course on this circuit, the opportunities to pass, really you need your momentum, and if you run behind a car, as Soucek has been doing now since this race got underway. Oh, big accident.
That's a big accident for Alexei Vasiliev in the Russian GT Racing Mercedes. And it's good to see him climbing out. I think that's down at the chicane, isn't it? Yeah, that's down at turns 5 and 6. So the safety car has been deployed for the second time in this race, and I'll be interested to see how he's ended up there.
Well, I would assume, it's only making an assumption, if it is down, and it is down in 5 and 6, the chicane, the first chicane, that it was an issue to do with brakes, whether it was a brake problem or whether a driver error. But there you can see it's substantial damage to the front of the Mercedes. So this is a major incident for Vasiliev into turns 5 and 6, as once again the safety car deployment is underway.
So the safety car heads out onto the circuit, and here's a look at the replay as Vasiliev comes down. Whoa, goodness me!
Well, the car was flying.
How has he managed that?
It was in the air before he even got into the braking zone. And it just continues all the way down the barrier on the right-hand side of the racetrack. And look at it, it's shredding. That's just carbon fiber, rubber, whatever. Wow, was that contact with the only way you can do that is have contact with another car, either because the other car has moved across you or because there's been an issue with your car. But to be 4 feet above the ground, a low-flying Mercedes-Benz, and there is no braking when you're in the air.
No, brakes aren't an issue then, are they? So, well, he was battling with Alex Zanardi. We saw Zanardi in shot there, so we'll keep an eye out as to whether Zanardi was involved in that, or whether he's picked up any damage, as the safety car waits now to pick up the leaders. But, well, Peter Cox, it will be in the lead of the race for the second safety car moment, but there's going to be quite a bit of clearing up to do down there, I think.
I mean, you can see the amount of debris that has been shred from the Mercedes as it made its way down. I mean, literally, it was almost at the level of the barrier, and I think at one point it was above the level of the barrier, and then all you got is actually debris fencing protecting the back of the... Let's look at...
This is on board with Zanardi then.
Is this the restart?
No, this is with Vasiliev. So he comes to the inside, and then Vasiliev starts to move across. Oh, and that's a big one.
And there she goes up, climbs the barrier, and then proceeds to shred the front of the car as it flies and lands up in the gravel trap, and then ends up finally just bouncing off the barrier at the back of that safety area, that gravel trap, then into a grassy area, and then finally the barrier itself. So that was big. That was big.
It's difficult to tell, wasn't it, from that one shot as to whether Vasiliev was moving around. There you can see where the contact happened. Yeah. So we're under safety car conditions here in Zolder after a big accident for Alexei Vasiliev after contact with Alex Zanardi. Zanardi up to 18th place now as a result of that accident, and the retirement, by the looks of things, of Nelson Piquet Jr., Stefano Colombo, Thomas Jaeger, Enzo Eden, Sten Pentus also out of the race. So we've got 18 runners remaining as we are behind the safety car. That's Peter Cox in the NSC Lamborghini in the lead. Second place is Harry Prochik for the Grasser Racing Lamborghini team, and then Cesar Ramos in third, Max Buch in fourth position. And of course we do have a long way to go in this race, but if it were to stay like this, the gap would, at the top of the championship, would come down to 14 points going into the final round of the season, where there are 34 points up for grabs. So it would be a very, very tight finale in Azerbaijan in a couple of weeks' time around the street circuit, which we're all very looking forward to getting back to.
And it is a revised street circuit in Baku. So we will have a couple of interesting areas on the racetrack, notably where the cars leave the boulevard and go into the area what we call the Old City. So that was a quickish area, which is probably going to be a little bit quicker on the entry into it, because it funnels down into a much more narrow part of the streets of Baku.
Yeah, we've dropped that little bus stop chicane that was used last season, so it's going to be a quicker right-hand turn up past all the bars and restaurants and the hotels before they come back out onto the main dual carriageway again. But we've still got 42 minutes of racing to come here in Zolder. Well, 40 minutes or so. We'll see how the repair work is progressing down at turn 5. You can see marshals there on the circuit making sure that everything's cleaned up, because that will have all been shed onto the racing and braking line.
Yes, it was, and a lot of that will be carbon fibre along with other bits of the car. The marshals pretty much you see the Mercedes is still there. The truck to remove the car is it's off the gravel trap. If it goes into the gravel trap, although it might be four-wheel drive, I doubt it is. Let's look again and see what happened.
Does Vasiliev move over for this one in the braking zone?
Oh yeah, very much so. But when he moved over, he caught the left front of Zanardi's car, and that's the whole thing about these. Look at that. These aggressive manoeuvres to block drivers. I hate seeing it, and it's something that only drivers will learn by experience. There's the remains. It was still shredding. I mean, so Zanardi had come from the middle of the track to the right to get the preferred line, and the Mercedes went to block that maneuver, and consequently it rode over the left front of the BMW, attacked the barrier, literally directly behind what is the walkway, the access way to the pit lane, and dread to think what could have been the consequence.
Vasiliev out of the car. Everyone okay. Our cameraman maybe needs to improve his whip pans a bit. Wasn't quite on it, was he?
If I was him, I'd have been running.
There is the Grasser Racing team. Gottfried has got his balaclava on, not got his helmet on just yet, because it's only 5 minutes before the pit stop window opens. So
you mean Jerome Blakemolen?
No. Grasser had his balaclava on, not his helmet. He does, because Gottfried Grasser, the team boss, does the pit stops. He tells them, he releases the lollipop man, essentially.
Well,
but yeah, hopefully we'll get racing underway before the pit stop window opens.
And the parts bin to replace the damaged bits, and here we look at it again from Zanardi. He's on the left of the track as they come out of 4. He then goes directly across.
Brake lights are on. He's coming in on the brakes.
But that is a clear move across the front of Zanardi, and Zanardi probably was still on throttle at the point that manoeuvre began. And where's Zanardi? He's got a barrier on the right. He can't go anywhere. Watch and see again the way the Mercedes then swings across to prevent the BMW from getting up and alongside. And the cameraman literally must have. Well, you can see the amount of. That is one of them. Yeah, just hopefully the cameraman is shaken and stirred, but nothing more. But that was a massive impact. A car that weighs 1,400 kilograms attacking a barrier at probably over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
The kinetic energy involved in that impact is incredible. but luckily it got dissipated because the car then slid back, almost back onto the circuit. Look at that, I mean, it's at one point it's 5 feet, the left or the right hand side of the car, over 5 feet above the level of the racetrack, and still bits and pieces are following the car, such as the energy that's being dissipated by the actual car itself. And inner wing panels, this car's got to be prepped and ready to go to Russia next weekend.
I'm going to Azerbaijan. I don't know where you're going, but yeah, it's going to be a tough turnaround for the GT Russian team.
Yeah, that's a lot of work for that car to be, you know, whether there's damage, superficial damage, or whether the legs, the front chassis legs, which are clearly would have come into play in that impact. So if they're all right, then that's a good result.
So we're still behind safety car here in Zolder. It won't be coming in this lap, but maybe the next one. So we could have a carnage pit stop window again. Yeah, because a safety car will be in this lap, so we will get racing going before the pit lane opens. So a relatively late call as the safety car comes back into the pits and racing gets underway again here, and Cesar Ramos has got a very good restart right up behind Harry Project as we go racing once again here in Zolder. We've got an attack going on as Stef Dusseldorp tries to find his way past Philippe Salaquada down into turn 1. Not quite able to go around the outside, tries to get the cutback. Good work from Stef Dusseldorp. He now will have the outside line for turn 2, which again is going to be a difficult one, and he's got to try and get a cutback again into 3 and 4, and he's managed to work it out nicely, still holding on the inside line, and he's going to get through. Stef Dusseldorp then up into 7th place, and he worked that very nicely, John.
Yeah, it took 3 corners to get the job done, but that's what you do at Zolder. Those first three corners all offer up opportunities, and those are the opportunities. Andy Soucek still behind McLaren, running in 6th place.
So Peter Cox leads, 2nd for Harry Project, 3rd Cesar Ramos, Max Buch, Fabio Anidi and Andy Soucek completing the top 6, with Stef Dusseldorp now up into 7th place. There were the battles, and Cacabueno wasn't able to get past Michael Bartels. So Bartels still in 11th, Cacabueno still in 12th. Oh, and someone going straight over there, that's Lucas Stoltz. And as a result, Marc Basseng puts him under pressure, but isn't quite able to get through. My apologies, it's Lucas Wolff driving that white and blue Mercedes down into turn 12. Right behind them is the attack from Stefan Ortelli.
Yeah, he's the guy you've got to watch. Nicky Meyer-Melnhof dives up the inside, compromises himself, gives opportunity to Ortelli, who might get squeezed. He just about gets through, so the move by Nicky Meyer-Melnhof didn't pay off. He's trying to come back by going out to the right of the circuit, but he's out position. It's Stefan Ortelli who was always going to come out of that, in my view, the winner, but Meyer-Melnhof not giving up. He's going to have a go at Ortelli, coming back, getting alongside, down pit straight, side by side, contact the two Audis.
Absolutely, down into turn 1, it's Marc Basseng on the outside, Meyer-Melnhof in the other Phoenix Audi. This is Basseng going on the attack with Stefan Ortelli, and he's not quite able to get the fight back, but that was a little bit of how brave are you down into the first corner.
Yes, it was, and again, a lot of work being done, not looking to one corner to get the pass done, but thinking about 2 or 3 corners down the road.
Max Buch having a little look out as he comes up behind Cesar Ramos into the first chicane. Peter Cox hasn't been able to pull away as much as he did in the opening green flag laps, as we've got basically 6 for the lead, and the pit stop window will be open now at the end of this lap. So I'd expect to see Project coming in, maybe Ramos, maybe Buch, but I think Peter Cox will stay out for a couple of laps.
It's okay. I mean, teams are going to have to work overtime to work out what they want to do. If everybody piles into the pits at the very beginning, the pit lane is now open. So, as you say, Harry Project, and there is Jerome Bleekemolen getting ready to jump in to the Lamborghini. So Cox may opt to stay out, or would he want to put Nicky Katzberg in? He's going to stay out, but it is Project in, and likewise everybody else. And as the McLaren follows, so it'll be Pantano gets into the McLaren.
Salaquada in, Rusinov in, Nicky Meyer-Melnhof in, Michael Bartels in as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this all pans out. Cesar Ramos then is up into 2nd place. Alex Zanardi coming into the pits as well for the 2nd time. But he's still involved in the fight, Alex Zanardi, which is good to see. In then comes Harry Project. These are the championship challengers. 20 points off the championship lead at the moment.
A lot of grass and leaves in the air intake in the front of the Lamborghini. That's something one of the guys on the tyre stop needs to run his hand and clear that, because even the small amount that there is enough to increase the temperature of the engine and the oil. Project gets out of the car, runs away, because it is like manic down in the pit lane. Cars entering and cars leaving. Zanardi also dives in, so he's in the second block, the first pits of the second block. And you can see the damage to the left front, where the left rear tire of the Mercedes, right rear tire of the Mercedes contacted with the BMW.
So heading out of the pits we just saw is Jerome Blancpain now at the wheel of the 28 car, and he's got an awfully, very bad pit stop actually for the Bitech McLaren. Look, there they come out, and they're now behind Markus Winkelhock. So the Phoenix Audi crew doing a very, very good turnaround, and that'll gain them a couple of places, I think, for Markus Winkelhock. May well be up into the top 5 once the pit stop windows fan out. Through then comes Jelmer Burman, then Alex Zanardi, and Zanardi has got out in front of the Fortec Mercedes as well, so he's made up a position there. As into the pits now comes our race leader, Peter Cox and Cesar Ramos. So Max Buch moves into the lead of the race. We've also had in Andy Soucek stays out and is up into second place. Steph Dusseldorp stays out and is up into third. So the big question is going to be Peter Cox and the 28 Lamborghini.
Was the wisdom of staying out one more lap and making your pit stop when the pit lane is virtually free of traffic, and therefore you're not under that particular pressure? Or had they just stayed out one lap too many, and the overlap on Jerome Blancpain, who technically should be leading the race?
I think there was a bit of a problem there on the front right of the Audi. We'll have to wait and see, but it looked to me as Caca Bueno pulls in his Brazilian BMW. Go, 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 Caca!
Oh, he got out quickly.
Like a shot.
Nimble lad.
And so it looked as though, to me,
bit of samba movement there.
Oh no, there's a problem. There's a problem on the
lead car. What was the lead car? The
yes,
rear.
Peter Cox is in a lot of problems now. It looked like a slow pit stop for the number 1 Audi. He's about to come out of the pits.
They've got the jack under the rear, but whether the wheel, there's no wheel, so they haven't got the wheel on. The jack's come down.
But here comes the lead of the race towards turn 2. The previous leader of Jerome Blancpain was just coming around turn 1, and he's through. He's then, still ahead, I should say, of Laurens Vanthoor. So Blancpain is effectively now into the lead of the race for the time being. It depends what happens with Buch and Soucek, but at the moment it's the net lead for the 28 Grasser Racing Lamborghini.
They had one fresh set of tyres for Jerome Blancpain, so this is just total disaster. They can't get the jack under the rear of the car to enable them to jack it up sufficiently to get the wheel back on to let this car, it's all over. Sadly for Peter Cox, great effort in the first sector, and now poor Nicky Katzberg sits in that Lamborghini helpless.
Such a shame as Jerome Blancpain now at the wheel of the 28 Lamborghini.
New rubber for Jerome Blancpain. He has to make the best of that on his opening stint. He's pulled sufficiently, it's what, a 2-second gap as they come through turn 11 down in the braking of turn 12. It's a matter of whether Laurens Vanthoor equally had a fresh set of rubber or not. Max Buch, who's currently the lead of the race, and he's done the fastest first sector time. So he's using clear air to maximise his opportunity as much as possible.
And Soucek's involved in that scrap as well. You can see Soucek in the Aston Martin there, just a couple of seconds further back, and actually Steph Dusseldorp pretty much in the fight too. So when these guys come in, it'll all be about a pit stop battle, but at the moment it's going to be Buch versus Blancpain, our 2 championship leaders doing battle for the lead of the race, as still the NSC Motorsports car is in the pits.
Well, the best thing for Buch, Soucek and Dusseldorp, as it was for the first 2 cars, Ramos and Peter Cox, was that they are in clear air. They're running now at what would be their more normal, natural pace. They weren't able to do that. Buch is in, and we're going to see Soucek. He stays out. So Andy Soucek in the Aston Beachmount rolling the dice, as is Steph Dusseldorp. This could be the smart play of the day. We have to wait and see.
So in comes our race leader, Maximilian Buch. He'll hand over to his teammate Maximilian Goetz in the car that is leading the championship. Max Goetz has a 20-point advantage over the 28 Lamborghini at the moment. There's Harry Procik in the teammate of that 28 Lamborghini, and it's going to be a battle between those two for the lead of the race. And isn't it just brilliant when everything pans out to have our championship rivals going head-to-head on the circuit? And at the moment, in the pits, out gets Buch, in gets Goetz.
So pretty routine and well-practiced pit stop driver change for these two. Been partners for 2 years, and Maxi Buch slightly shorter of the two, so it's important that when he comes in, he adjusts the seat or the seat insert. He takes his own seat insert out, so the seat is positioned to suit Goetz with the insert for Maximilian Buch.
Out of the pits then comes the Mercedes, but they've got to go a long way around the first corner. Is there a chance that Jeroen Bleekemolen will be in front, or will he be behind? Who's going to be in the lead of this race? It's going to be incredibly close, and it's Maximilian Goetz for the time being. The Mercedes takes the lead of the race. Maximilian Buch is delighted. Grasser Racing are concerned, but Bleekemolen has tyres up to temperature. He knows he's got to get this move done now on the Mercedes.
He's got to do it on the exit of 4. Try and get himself into position to put himself up and to alongside the Mercedes into 5. Buch goes to the centre of the track to block, but Jeroen Bleekemolen thinks about it, but he realises he's not in a position to take that without putting both himself and the Goetz Mercedes-Benz currently in the lead into grave danger. And the longer he stays behind, the more the swing of emphasis will go to the Mercedes. He's got 1 lap in reality to make the best use of his tyres at temperature, and the fresh tyres going onto the Mercedes-Benz coming up to temperature.
And right behind them as well is Laurens Vanthoor. We go on board with the chasing Lamborghini. Jeroen Bleekemolen at the wheel, down into turn 12. Meanwhile, Thomas Enger has just set the fastest first sector of anyone in his Lamborghini. A Lamborghini is the car to have around here. In comes Soucek, hands over to Johnny Adam. Now, is this beastie Aston Martin going to come into play as well? Through the final chicane, the Aston Martin was just a couple of car lengths behind the race leading, as Vanthoor goes very wide, the race leading Mercedes. I don't think it's going to work out for the Beechstein squad. They're going to come out in a net 4th position most likely as the Aston departs the pit lane. So, in the lead of the race then are our championship leaders, and it's first place for Max Goetz as a very, very wide McLaren there, which means that Johnny Adam comes out in 4th spot. But our championship leaders lead the race. The men chasing them in the championship are in 2nd position. So this has got a very intense 27 minutes written all over it.
I tell you, it's intense on the commentary booth. I don't know what it's like behind the wheel of a car, but these top 3, and I mean, some of the wisdom of keeping Max Buch out, allowing him to run in that clear air and capitalise on the natural speed has paid dividend, plus a really slick pit stop. As we see the Dusseldorf Mercedes not with step behind the wheel, then as it makes its way back onto the circuit. But this battle, 1st, 2nd and 3rd, covered by, what is it, 1.5 seconds?
I just wonder if that Afanasiev, Steph Dusseldorf Mercedes may come into play as well, because they were another one in that group. We've seen HTP do good pit stops.
Yeah, it's going to be a question of will it come out ahead of Johnny Adam and the Aston Martin, the Beechstein Aston Martin, or will he come out behind? That's going to be their focus, I would imagine, right now.
Down into the chicane, and this is an important race as far as the championship is concerned, because if things were to stay like this, the gap at the top of the championship would go from 20 points up to 27 points, and with only 34 points on offer for the final round in Baku, it's going to be very, very tight indeed. Through the first corner they come.
So it's going to be a net 4th place for the Aston Martin, because, oh no, it's not there. We sort of misunderstood that one. A great job by HTP to get the Mercedes out ahead of the Aston Martin, so it's picked up 4th place.
Yep, 4th place then for Sergei Afanasiev, which is a good drive from them, considering they started down in 11th place on the grid. At the moment, though, well, we've still got Stefan Ortelli, I think, out there in the lead of the race, because he has yet to come into the pits, although he must be coming in sooner rather than later, because the pit stop window is about to close. As they come down now through turn 7, and it looks as though the Mercedes is extending his advantage a little bit.
Yeah, Max Goetz jumped into the car after Maxi Buch had done a very good job, particularly in the 3 laps that he had stayed out once the pit lane was open. And again, great pit work by the HTP team, turned the car around and ultimately managed to snatch the lead from Jeroen Bleekemolen, who was relatively comfortable but under pressure from the Audi behind.
Ortelli did
Laurens
make
Vanthoor was all over. There is number 9 Ortelli in, and the Mercedes, or the Lamborghini, finally is being retired to the garage after that issue with the right rear.
Into the final corner and out to start. Lap number 21 comes our race leader, Maximilian Goetz. Stefan Rakelmi takes over from Stefan Ortelli at the wheel of that number 9 WRT Audi. Out of the pits they go. We'll see where they filter back into the pack. It's going to be around about the Ferrari of Alessandro Balzan. There comes the Ferrari. Are we going to see Rakelmi pop out before too long? And now Johnny Adam is right on the back of Sergei Afanasyev. So this is the battle over 4th position, and it's the 85 Mercedes that has it at the moment, and the 107 Aston Martin is tucked right in behind, and they've got Giorgio Pantano involved in that three-way fight as well. And well, there's a lot of vibration on the front there.
Yeah, just looking at the Mercedes, the front splitter is vibrating quite strongly. You know, whether that's something we've not noticed previously or whether that's caused by maybe a little bit of damage to the mountings and is therefore causing that vibration. But it's Pantano and the McLaren who really is putting pressure on Johnny Adam, and he is in turn being really dictated, his pace is being dictated by Sergei Afanasyev in the Mercedes.
So if things stay like this, with Max Goetz leading the way, if he takes victory and something happens to Bleekemolen and they finish 5th or lower, then they will be crowned champions today. But at the moment, Bleekemolen is keeping them in the title hunt, even though it'll be quite a slim chance going to Baku. But we saw last year, anything can happen around that street circuit. So Goetz is in the lead, Bleekemolen in second, now 2 seconds behind. Laurens Vanthoor just half a second behind Bleekemolen. And then we have in 4th place Sergei Afanasyev, 5th for Johnny Adam in that Aston Martin, 6th is Giorgio Pantano in the McLaren, then 7th is Balzan, 8th Jimenez, 9th Thomas Enger, and 10th across the line is Stefan Rakelmi. 22.5 minutes to go, and there's Zanardi. So where's Zanardi up to? 14th place, ahead of Benji Hetherington. So considering he's done one more pit stop than everyone else, he's doing a solid job out there, Zanardi, and Alessandro Latifi as well.
He's been in the wars. I mean, puncture in the opening lap, and a tyre cut down, basically, not a puncture, cut down, then that contact with the Russian Mercedes-Benz up into turn 5. But here we see just this battle, and Maximilian Goetz is beginning to open up a gap that wasn't there a lap ago. And it's it's Jerome Bleekemolen, who's now under real pressure from Laurens Vanthoor. And it was Jerome Bleekemolen who pointed out to me that braking here is probably the worst on any racetrack that they're going to go to, and that they've got to be careful not to let the car, when you're under braking, run into the ABS, which then makes it, in these contexts, less efficient than just modulating the brake. A lot of, again, dirt, grass in the air intake on the Lamborghini, another issue to concern yourself, especially with the engine oil temperature.
Is there any argument that says Jerome Bleekemolen is taking it steady for the time being, hoping that the Mercedes will run into brake problems later?
I think that the Lamborghini is probably going to be more likely to suffer a brake problem than the Mercedes is, but with Maximilian Goetz in the lead, with no other car interfering with the airflow into the intakes, to the brakes and everything else, he is going to be better positioned to control the pace. Just 2 seconds as they came across the line at the end of lap 21, and I can only see that gap now increasing as Maximilian Goetz has got this clear out.
This is the battle for the lead in Silver Cup. Mateusz Lasowski in the number 4 WRT Audi, the second guy in this queue. There, he is currently leading the Silver Cup, which is a competition for silver-rated drivers, aged 25 and under. They get a decent wedge of cash actually if they win the Silver Cup class. But right behind them is Lucas Stoltz. He and Lucas Wolf also in the Silver Cup. And then behind them is Yama Berman. And I don't think Michael Bartels qualifies for the Silver Cup. But I don't think he's under 25, and he's certainly not rated silver because he's a very experienced racer. Meanwhile, Laurens Vanthoor is the man putting pressure on Jeroen Bleekemolen, and Vanthoor is fighting with Maximilian Buch for the overall Blancpain GT Series title. So this has repercussions in the overall championship as well. So there's an awful lot to play out over the next 20 minutes.
Let's see the gap. First to second it was 2 seconds, now 2.2, so 0.2 of a lap, a second of a lap better for Maximilian Goetz. As Jerome Bleekemolen really is now having to focus not on trying to win this race, but to consolidate his second position.
On board with Bleekemolen, flicking up through the gears as he comes through the right-hander of 3 and then into 4. And then out onto the back stretch. But Max Goetz continues to lead the way as they look for their 3rd championship race win of the season, which should also be good news for them because the Grasser Racing team have only had 1 championship race win, Harry Poschek and Bleekemolen, so that meant if it got really tight in Baku, and it came back towards countbacks, then Goetz and Boot would be in the stronger position. Less than 19 minutes to go here in Zolder. It's the penultimate round of the 2014 Blancpain Sprint Series. A series that has performed very strongly, and we're looking forward to next season. Laurens Vanthoor has just set the fastest lap of the race. Oh no, he set it on lap 16, my apologies. A 1 minute 30.5. But it doesn't look like he's got much to get past Jeroen Bleekemolen with at the moment.
No, he's really sort of caught now running at the pace of the Lamborghini, and he can't put himself into a position to get that dive down the inside. We saw that move, or the move he made in the sprint race on Saturday when he got up the inside of René Rast in the sister car.
So through go Goetz, Bleekemolen and Vanthoor. Then it's Sergei Afanasiev there in 4th place. 5th is the Aston Martin of Johnny Adams. 6th is Pantano. 7th is that Ferrari of Balzan, then Jimenez and Thomas Enger. This is the battle for 10th place. Riquelme has it currently. Then our Silver Cup leader is Mateusz Lasowski. Then we have Lucas Stoltz, Jelmer Berman, Alex Zanardi. Benji Hetherington there in that Fortec Mercedes, down in 15th place. It's 16th for Alessandro Latifi. And what on earth happened for Marcus Winkelhock, actually, because he's been into the pits twice now. So that's and he's so that second Phoenix Racing Audi, which looked like it would be in a good position because they had stayed out there a little longer, all of a sudden has made 2 pit stops and is well down in 17th place.
Well, we didn't get a view of that the reason for the second pit stop, so that's cost Marcus Winkelhock and Nicky Meyer-Mellenhoff, certainly a good points finish. And right now it's going to be 17th position, 0 point.
That was them just turning through the final chicane before the race leaders arrive, with Maximilian Goetz leading the way with 17 minutes to go. Laurens Vanthoor pushing in 3rd place at the moment, out onto the start, finish straight. But Vanthoor has shown last year he couldn't quite manage to get past a well-driven Lamborghini when he was trying to pass Stefan Racina for the lead of the race.
The gap first to second is up to 2.8 seconds, half a second a lap advantage to the Mercedes. As we look at this battle, Pantano and the Ferrari, Balzan trying to find a way past.
So the 6th position.
Johnny Adams managed to get a bit of distance between the 5th place or 6th place chase of Pantano. So he's comfortable, but he's been dropped by 1.7 seconds by Sergei Afanasiev, who we thought that the Aston and the Mercedes might, but it's the Mercedes who's pulled away. There's still that chattering front spoiler on the Mercedes. There's obviously some damage to it at some point, but probably not having too much bearing overall on the car's performance.
This would be the best result of the season so far for the Bytec team, their best ever result in Blancpain. If they can hold on to this 6th place, their previous best result was yesterday, a 7th place finish. And as far as championship race positions go, they had an 8th place finish at Brands Hatch, so that was their best performance as well. On board with Sergio Jimenez then, riding down towards turn 12. Beautiful. Well, he said summer's day here in Zolder, but it feels like a summer.
I think it's the best summer's day they've had here all year.
Jimenez about 0.8 of a second back from this battle in front between Pantano and Balzan. He's been closing in on them over the last couple of laps. Across the line come Pantano and Balzan with just 0.3 of a second between them still. But nothing the Ferrari can do.
No, the Ferrari sort of stuck behind the McLaren, and the BMW is getting the benefit of that. The pace. Thomas Enger's really the driver I'm looking forward to see, because he's had to fight his way through the field. And if you remember yesterday, Roman Rusinov in this car, when he took over from Thomas Enger, he literally got mugged around the racetrack and almost sort of shook his hands and head in horror as he let cars go past one side and the other. But Enger now, delivering the performance from the Reiter Lamborghini you normally expect.
So they're running in 9th place at the moment, Thomas Enger, in that Reiter run G-Drive Lamborghini. Enger's been closing in on these guys about half a second a lap, and Jimenez is going to be the first man that he will fight through the chicane. Then into this long sequence of right-handers that's sort of a bit like the back end of Brands Hatch.
great corner. I mean, turn 11 is one of those really good corners where you feel you could always be that little bit quicker, but you haven't got quite the commitment to try it out, because if it goes wrong, it goes badly wrong.
Afanasiev has done a good job in 4th place to hold off the battle from the Aston Martin behind. But again, it's Pantano and Balzan who are nose to tail into the final chicane. 13.5 minutes to go here. We come across the line to complete lap 26. We're going to have a lot fewer laps than yesterday because we've had more safety car periods.
Just keep an eye. These two cars have sort of had status quo for a long time, but it's Thomas Enger who has caught up to the tail of Sergio Jimenez in the Brazil BMW, who will be the one with the momentum and therefore might try to make a move, try to catch Jimenez slightly off guard as the back end of the Ferrari starts to break away and has to control it. Still, I mean, the whole car,
yeah.
Front of that car is chattering away now.
Down into the chicane. Again, Pantano goes in a little deep into that first apex, and as a result seems to cut more of the second apex, which gives him a good run out. We go on board with Jimenez, the Brazilian, down into the second chicane. Really getting shaken around a bit there, isn't he, as he clouds those curves.
It's the curbing there. I mean, there's tarmac, then there's concrete, which is painted red, and then there's green tarmac, or green concrete, which you're meant to stay away from, but pretty much everybody is putting at least 2 wheels onto that, if not maybe more on some occasions. So they will get track limits. Car 60 currently, Pantano, as you just pointed out, has been advised of a warning flag for exceeding track limits.
And Marcus Winkelhock has come into the pits, so that number 6 Phoenix Audi really not having the best of times, as we now see Jelmer Berman trying to attack Lucas Stoltz coming down into the chicane, and Alex Zanardi is with them, so it's 3, 4, 12th position at the moment. Through they come, out over the start line once more. A little look to the inside from Jelmer Berman, but he's not going to be close enough. We go on board with Zanardi to have a look at how this battle is unfolding in front of him.
I mean, it's a really good effort. Okay, there's been safety car interventions which have brought Zanardi back in to the battle, but nevertheless, remember, he's the only driver who drives this 1-hour race on his own due to the difficulties of doing a driver in and out. So the lights flashing from Jelmer Berman in the BMW, behind the Mercedes up the hill, up into turn 5, has a little look, but again, it's just the Mercedes has got that little bit more ability to drag itself up the hill, and that offsets any benefits that Berman may have coming through turn 4.
Down through turn 7 now. And I think Jelmer Berman will be reasonably pleased with how the weekend has progressed for Vita for One. They would have preferred a lot better, of course, but to be battling over a 12th place isn't too bad considering where they were when the weekend started.
Yeah, well, I mean, Berman only got the call on Wednesday to come and do this event, so I mean, no track time in the car, just jumping straight in. And you know, I'm thinking, in fact, they missed the second free session on Friday afternoon as well. So you know, a restriction and a loss of track time, those 2 sessions on Friday, is significant, because you then only got qualifying on Saturday morning and straight into the first of the 2 events.
The pit stops of the 28 car, which is the Grasser Racing Lamborghini, and the 72 car of Jelmer Berman, they'll be under investigation after the race. So nothing in theory that will affect the race result by the looks of things, but perhaps a fine or something like that if something is found to have gone wrong. But at the moment, the 28 Lamborghini is running in 2nd place over the crest down through turn 7. And I think could Bleekemolen and Prochik have done any more to take the lead of the race? I mean, that's going to be their biggest frustration, isn't it? That they're not only are they in 2nd place, but it's their championship rivals in front.
Yeah, but I think this is the reason why that car, the Mercedes-Benz, is in the lead. They stayed out at 3 laps extra over the first of the pit stoppers, and the consequence of that is they got that clear air, and they were able to run, and Maximilian Buch, undoubtedly very quick in a Mercedes-Benz, used that to very good effect in conjunction with a super pit stop, and that gave them the position. So whether, you know, it's not just simply lap times, it's also the speed at which you come up to the braking zone as you enter the pit lane. It's all those little attention to details that make the difference. And once Mercedes got their nose into clear air, then Bleekemolen, who I believe will probably be struggling with a brake issue. Therefore, he isn't able to challenge or run potentially at the car's ultimate pace. And of course, Van Thor stuck behind, probably not suffering maybe quite the same issue with brakes, but can't get his natural momentum to put a challenge onto Jeroen Bleekemolen for second place.
Across the line comes this battle between Stoltz, Berman and Zanardi. Lucas Stoltz in the HDP Motorsport Mercedes, the blue and white car at the head of the field, running in 12th place at the moment. Then it's Jelmer Berman behind in the BMW. Then it's this man, Alex Zanardi, coming into turn 2. He's operating the throttle using a ring behind the steering wheel. Gear shifts with the thumb.
Oh! I mean, on board. Turn in oversteer. Whoops. Of course, you know, normally your instinct is to lift your foot off the throttle, but he's got to think, I've got to release the throttle ring. Much, much more difficult and much more mentally demanding.
Less than 8 minutes to go. As Thomas Enger is still up behind Sergio Jimenez. Still, Alessandro Balzan's unable to get past Giorgio Pantano. And it doesn't look as though, in fact, are they closing in on Sergei Afanasiev at all?
Looks like Johnny Adams has
2 seconds.
Remember, the Mercedes has got that major vibration in the front of the car, which if it's vibrating, not just the splitter at the front, but probably the rest of the car, Afanasiev is going to really struggle because the steering wheel probably is giving him a very difficult time. So the gap has, I think, come down marginally. 1.5 seconds as they came across the line at the start of lap 31.
Yep, so that has come down actually by half a second on that last lap. So it looked like it was more a slow lap from Afanasiev than a particularly quick one from Johnny Adam. In fact, Giorgio Pantano behind Johnny Adam went quicker than the Aston Martin. So maybe Afanasiev is starting to run into a few problems. Meanwhile, Jeroen Bleekemolen has pulled out a bit of a cushion now over Laurens Vanthoor in the battle over second place. There is Bleekemolen and Vanthoor.
It's nothing like as a competitive a drive today from Laurens Vanthoor we saw yesterday. So maybe he's got that in mind, you know, tagging your own teammate or being involved in an issue. It's sort of the pit lane is about 50-50 split as to whether it was a punishable contact or not. And sometimes, you know, hanging back with what 6 minutes or so of this race remaining and giving it one more run, just pick up your natural speed and see if you can wrong foot Jeroen Bleekemolen, especially under one of the many heavy braking zones on this circuit at Zolder.
Down into turn 1 comes Bleekemolen.
You can just see how much Bleekemolen is aware of what Vanthoor is doing. The head turning to the left, look in the mirror. On there you see the left wing of the car, or left door of the car as it is in this case. There is the gap. Now Pantano looks like he's closing down Johnny Adam more than it has been. The gap between Pantano and...
it came down by 0.2 of a second on that last lap.
It stayed static between 4th and 5th place, so it's really Pantano's the one that's pushing a little bit harder now in these closing moments.
Yep, that Bitec McLaren there, the red and white car, coming through turn number 4, and he's got a reasonable margin now over Alessandro Balzan for the first time in this race. Really, you can see sparks flying from underneath the Mercedes there, and you can hear it even just then scraping along the ground.
Yeah, I mean those are titanium inserts in the spoiler, but whatever it is beginning to gradually detach. I don't know quite where. There's no apparent indication to any damage as we look. Oh, this is the 85 car. Yeah, there it is. It's only at high speed that it's apparent. Not so much coming into these slightly slower corners around the far end of the racetrack, and that ought to give Johnny Adam a little bit more of an opportunity to close the gap. 1.6 seconds it was as they came across the line, and in fact this whole group of cars is beginning to concertina.
Yep, Thomas Enger's at the back of the group in 9th place in the bright orange G-Drive Lamborghini. Down towards the final corner again, 4.5 minutes to go, and Bleekemolen has got his gap to Vanthoor up to a second now as they turn through the chicane. Across the line comes the Mercedes. You can hear it rattling. It sounds like a tractor as he comes underneath and into turn 1. And here we can have a look at it. Look at that bouncing and the sparks kicking off from underneath the car. It's quite cool. as Sergei Afanasyev comes down into the chicane. Doesn't look like it's causing him too much drama as he comes out and down towards turn 5 and 6 again. Here it goes. And listen to it as well. Less dramatic that time around, a few less sparks for Afanasyev. Runs a little bit wide on the exit of 5 and 6, but he's managed to hold off this gap to Johnny Adam. And this whole battle seems to have calmed down just a little bit. Thomas Enger not close enough to make a pass on Sergio Jimenez either, who's in that yellow number 0 BMW. At the back part of the circuit now with 3 minutes to go. Goetz has already been across the line. Bauzan getting a little closer to the back of the car in front. Across the line comes Max Goetz. And again, we're in the scenario where I don't think this will be the penultimate lap. I think we'll get another 3 laps out of this. There's Laurens Vanthoor now 1.3 seconds back from Jeroen Bleekemolen. So maybe Vanthoor has decided to settle for that 3rd position. A nod from Cesar Ramos and a raise of the eyebrows. But this would extend the championship advantage for Max Goetz up to 27 points, which means that there's only 34 points available at the final round in Baku. So it's getting very, very, very close to Max Goetz wrapping up the title and becoming the Blancpain Sprint Series champion. We've still got 2 minutes to go and we've still got a whole weekend in Baku, but this is really going to do the team a world of good, considering they started in 6th place on the grid, got up to 4th in the opening phase of the race, but to be in the lead is a really impressive achievement considering their qualifying performance as well. They qualified 12th, Max Buch and Max Goetz. So if they can win here, it would be mighty impressive. And Goetz is continuing to pull away as well. And in fact, Vanthoor has closed in to Jeroen Bleekemolen on this last lap. It's now down to less than a second as they come through the middle sector. Let's see what it is as they come across the line now, as Max Buch watches his teammate. It's come to 1.2 seconds between Bleekemolen and Vanthoor. Another track limits warning for car 90, which is Alessandro Bauzan. As we go on board with Alex Zanardi, running in 14th place, down into the chicane at 5 and 6, chasing Jelmer Berman, gets it a bit crossed up and has to skip across the runoff area. And as a result, he's a bit further back from Berman now, who is right up with Lukas Stoltz, down into turn 1. Less than a minute to go. And I don't think we're on the final lap of the race. We will get, this will be now the penultimate lap. And there's our race leader, Maximilian Goetz. Vanthoor hasn't put the pressure on Bleekemolen that we thought he may do. And I have been frankly surprised that the Mercedes has been able to dominate this one quite so comfortably. It's not really a circuit that suits the Merc. Okay, they look better in race trim than qualifying trim, but to drive away from the highly fancied Lamborghinis and Audis is a very, very impressive run from Maximilian Goetz. Harry Prochik not over the moon with how things have turned out. Through the final corner comes Maximilian Goetz, and he is just about to start the last lap. And the checker flag has come out. So there is the race victory for Maximilian Goetz. And it's victory for Goetz. He came across the line with no time to spare. And he takes victory here. Second for Jeroen Bleekemolen, third for Laurens Vanthoor, fourth for Afanasyev, fifth for Johnny Adams, sixth for Giorgio Pantano, seventh for Alessandro Bauzan. Here's the battle between Lukas Stoltz and Jelmer Berman into the final corner. Still Stoltz holds on to finish just ahead. But it's victory for Max Goetz and Max Buch. And what a strong performance that is. And that gives them now a 27-point advantage at the top of the championship with only 34 to play with in Baku. So it's looking really, really good for Max Goetz. Max Buch technically won't be the champion with Max Goetz, but, you know, to all intents and purposes, he will be. If Goetz is able to seal the deal in Azerbaijan in 2 weeks' time. But there is our race winner. And there is our other race winner. Really strong drive by Buch. And how they have managed to win this race, considering the pace the Mercedes had coming into the event, considering their strong but not spectacular race yesterday. They worked the pit stops to perfection and came out in the lead and have taken victory here in Zolder. Laurens Vanthoor will be on the podium. He and Cesar Ramos took the qualifying race win. Astonishingly, they still have not won a championship race this season. Won the qualifying race in Nogaro, won the qualifying race in Slovakia, have had 3 pole positions as well. But somehow they have not been able to convert it when it matters. There is Jeroen Bleekemolen. And it'll be interesting to get his reactions to what has happened in the race today. Should the Grasser Racing team have taken victory? Potentially. As all the cars now come back into the pits. We finished with 17 cars on the circuit. Marcus Fingerlock had to retire. Peter Cox in the NSC Motorsports car that was leading the way was forced out of the race as well. Alex Zanardi had an eventful run out there, finishing in 14th place overall. We also lost Alexei Vasiliev in the wall, Nelson Piquet with some sort of mechanical problem, Thomas Jaeger with accident damage, and the same is true of Enzo Ede and Sten Pentus of the 24 cars that started. A more subdued race than yesterday, but it's going to be a much less subdued Maximilian Buch and Maximilian Goetz, because they have done their championship hopes a world of good here. And Max Goetz climbs out of the car, pumped after that race. Commanded it. And the two Maxis, Maxi and Mini, are going to be very, very pleased. A chat from Harry Prochik and Jeroen Bleekemolen, and that's good to see. High fives all around. And we can hear from Maximilian Buch now, our race winners after the main race here at Zolder. There with John.
Maxi Buch couldn't be any better. Started second row of the grid. Where did you get the victory from?
I have my innocent smile back. No, it was third row, and yeah, the start went very well. It was much better than I expected, and then was a bit tight in the second corner. I got a bit sandwiched, and then I just wanted to keep the pace with the leaders and just drive behind them and wait for the pit stops. Yeah, we decided to stay out a bit longer, use the clear air we have. Yeah, it went quite well, and Maxi really did a fantastic job. The pit stop was fantastic from the team, so everything went well.
How much do you think by staying out and coming in 3 laps later than the race leaders actually benefited from you?
I think it was a part of it. It was the pit stop itself what was amazing, and I think I had a quite good pace. The 3 laps I stayed out, I went quite fast, and I think the other guys who jumped into the car had to get a bit used to it, and I was very hot today.
Thank you. Max, it's hot out there, but you don't look too bad.
No, it didn't look too bad, yes, that's true. We did a great job today. Max in the beginning with the start, the team during pit stops. And yeah, you can plan nothing in motorsport, so it was very, very good to end up in front of Jerome. Because with our car here in Zolder, we need clean air, so we means no aero car in front of us, and then we can do good lap times. And in the end, we did it. We did a good pace, and they couldn't overtake us, and could gain a little lead. And yeah, it was fantastic today. Good job.
Well, excellent, and hold more points for you. Well done.
Yeah, thanks.
So victory for Max Goetz and Max Buch after a strong performance. And we can now hear from Jeroen Bleekemolen and Harry Prochik. They have lost more ground in the championship.
Are you disappointed, or was that the best you could expect this afternoon?
I didn't expect them to win, to be honest. I thought the number 1 Audi would be the main challenger, but they were quick, unbelievable. They did a great strategy. We were so close when he came out of pit lane, but he just had a little bit more pace. And when you run close to someone, everything gets too hot and you just lose. The same with Lawrence behind me. Maybe he had a little bit more pace than me in the beginning, but it's just getting too hot when you are close. So maximum result, but yeah, for the championship, not a good day.
No. Harry, you opted to come in at the earliest opportunity to hand over Jerome. Do you think that was the right thing to do, or was that the only thing you had to do?
I think it was the wrong thing what we do, because I lost a lot at the entry. I had to do the pits because Peter was driving the chicane, so I have to brake. And I think this was maybe the gap what we need for the pit stop. So I think it was better when I stay 1-2 laps out or do the same like Cox do. But afterwards, you are always clever. So I think it's nice, because respect to HTP, they make always a great job. They are free practice or qualifying, never in front, but in the race it counts, and then they are there.
Okay, Jerome, anything you can do now really before going to Baku? I mean, it's really almost out of your hands.
Yeah, just don't think about the championship. Try to win it. There's a nice prize money check there, so try to win that one, and then we'll see where they end up. But usually they are right there, so it's going to be tough.
Okay, good done, well done.
So your own Bleekemolen and Harry Procek reasonably satisfied after that, and it's going to be very, very interesting when we get to Baku in 2 weeks' time. Just a point, we sort of missed the checkered flag, and that's because the race time was 1 hour exactly 0.027 seconds. So we were 27 hundredths of a second after the 1 hour mark when the checkered flag came out. The race win for Maximilian Buch and Maximilian Goetz doing their championship the world of good. Harry Procek and Jeroen Bleekemolen finishing in second place. Ramos and Van Thor third. Dusseldorp and Afanasiev, good drive from them for a fourth place. And Soucek and Johnny Adam on their debut in the Blancpain Sprint Series, finishing in fifth position, a strong performance, with Fabio Nidi and Giorgio Pantano getting their best performance of the season so far. Vita One Racing Team on their return, finishing down in 13th place, just ahead of Alex Zanardi, who had a more than eventful race. Miguel Torrell and Benji Hetherington in 15th position. And then we get on to our retirements. Colombo and Fuminelli were out of the race, as were Meir Melnoff and Marcus Winkelhock. We lost Alexei Vasiliev there in a big crash, and Peter Cox, after leading most of the opening stint, forced to retire. Podium presentations getting ready here, and it'll be the top step of the podium once again for the HTP Mercedes crew. Maximilian Buch and Maximilian Goetz on the top step for the third time in a main race this season. They actually haven't won a qualifying race all year, Max Buch and Max Goetz. They've never started a main race from pole, but they've managed to pick up 3 victories. And here they come, the two Germans onto the top step of the podium. The jump for Maxi Goetz in honour of Sean Edwards. Second step of the podium for Harry Procek and Jeroen Bleekemolen. And the third step for Laurens Van Thor and Cesar Ramos, who will once again be frustrated that they couldn't get the main race won. And there is Renaud Dufour onto the podium as well as the representative of HTP. German national anthem for the German squad. And the trophies awarded to Cesar Ramos and Laurens Van Thor by Dirk Huben, the administrator here at the Zolder circuit. And there are the second place trophies for Harry Procek and Jeroen Bleekemolen, presented by Mark Eskens. And the race winners trophies from Jack Hainan, the president of this Zolder circuit. And it's the top step of the podium and a championship advantage now of 27 points for Max Goetz and Max Buch as we head to the next race in Azerbaijan. The champagne procedures to come, and the checks to come as well. Stefan Rattel, the chairman of SRO Motorsports Group, handing out the cash. 10,000 euros for third place, 20,000 for second, and a pleasant 30,000 euros for the winning pairing of Maximilian Buch and Max Goetz. Their third one of those of the season so far. As they are handed at the last minute there, champagne, as it is sprayed on the top step of the podium. Victory for HTP, and they are very, very close now. One hand perhaps even on the Blancpain Sprint Series title. They've got a strong advantage going into the final round of the season in Azerbaijan, but there'll be 30 cars on the Baku street circuit, so it's going to be a real challenge. Let's have a look at how the points are then. It's 142 points for Maximilian Goetz at the top of the standings, and then Jeroen Bleekemolen and Harry Procek 27 points further back on 115. Max Buch slightly less on the points for Max Goetz because he had to miss one round in Slovakia. Enzo Ede and René Rast are now out of the championship running after their retirement today. Ramos and Van Thor are battling with their teammates over that fourth spot in the championship. Also potentially Caca Bueno and Sergio Jimenez getting involved. As far as the teams are concerned, it's a little bit closer. HTP are leading the way at the moment. Belgian Audi Club can still take the teams classification championship, as can Grasser Racing. So that's going to be quite a fun one to look out for as we go into the final round of the season in Azerbaijan. So here now is the Silver Cup podium, and it's the win for Mateusz Lisowski and Vincent Abril. They started way down the order, but they managed to come through to take victory for the Belgian Audi Club. And there's our Pro-Am winners, Alessandro Latif and Marc Basseng. They finished 16th overall. And as a result, it's the Belgian national anthem. So Mateusz Lisowski and Vincent Abril on the top step in the Silver Cup, and that extends their advantage over David Fuminelli and Stefano Colombo. Fuminelli and Colombo finished down in 17th place. There you can see 162 points. So they haven't quite clinched it, Abril and Lisowski, ahead of Colombo and Fuminelli, but they too are looking very strong heading towards the final round in Azerbaijan. And John, that was a little bit of a calmer race than yesterday, but a really strong performance from Max Buch and Max Goetz.
Well, it was intense in the opening laps, so we didn't have the kind of drama that we had in the sprint race on Saturday in the closing 5 minutes. But again, just coming into here, I mean, you have to say that Cesar Ramos got monstered by Harry Procek, and in the process only lost pole position, but lost second place as well.
And there was a bit of contact towards the back of the pack. Enzo Ede ended up spinning off into the barriers on the inside. It was Peter Cox who took the lead of the race, but then let's try and see again here whether Enzo Ede had contact as they came around the right-hander. I think when we get to it, yeah, the Audi's already spinning and already into the barrier, but that was the end of the race for Enzo, and that brought out our first safety car. This was the onboard shot from Caca Bueno through the right-hander, and that was the look as the second place was taken by Harry Procek into turn one. Zanardi picked up damage in there, and unfortunately he had to come into the pits to repair a puncture. Did well to recover and to avoid all the spinning melee in front of him. That was where Sten Pentis's race ended, and that was it. The contact between the Fortec Mercedes and the Bitec McLaren, and Zanardi scooted around the outside. So after all that carnage and the retirement for Nelson Piquet Jr., we had a second safety car then later, because it was a big accident for Alexei Vasiliev going down into the chicane. There we can see it again. Vasiliev getting pitched into the wall, and that forced him out of the race. This was our slow-mo of it. Whoosh. Blink and you miss it.
It's an airplane accident.
As he goes flying into the gravel trap. He was okay though, everyone else unharmed as well, but it gave the spectators down there something to have a little watch of. But then once the safety car came in, we had some more battling as Stefan Otelli and Marc Basseng had a bit of rubbing. Peter Cox, the race leader, came into the pits, but they couldn't get the car up on the jacks. And then that was the crucial moment. Max Goetz coming out in the lead of the race, ahead of Jeroen Bleekemolen, to the delight of his teammate Maximilian Buch. Across the gravel went Zanardi, but it was race victory and a championship lead extended for Max Buch and Max Goetz. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time in Azerbaijan.